if they're not willing to match what I want, I am comfortable being on my own, spending some time alone, doing focusing on myself, and I don't have to lower my standards just so I can not feel alone or not feel lonely. And when you truly healed anyway, you wouldn't feel lonely at all when you're alone, and that's a really beautiful thing.
So for boys, they see their parents being absent in their lives. That is their perception of how a man should be. Their entire existence depends on providing for the family. They feel that disconnect. However, when it comes to their expectation from a woman, they see that from their mother. So like that's why guys have this tendency of like mothering qualities that they seek in women, right? And for girls, their perception of how a man should be comes from the father, and how they should be comes from the mother, which is like the self-sacrificing, or they've seen their mother trying to communicate things with their fathers, trying to become a savior, and that's why we have that savior tendency in us.
Hi everyone, welcome to all new episode of Spirit Says. I'm hopeful that you enjoyed our last episode, and today we're gonna talk about something that plays a huge role in our spiritual as well as emotional development, which is relationships. And we're not just talking about romantic relationships, but also platonic ones. Some relationships are gifted to us, and some we choose in our lives, and both kind of relationships play a very important role in shaping our worldview and also condition us. And now I would like to invite Antiksha to tell us what roles do relationship play in our development and how do they affect us.
Hi everyone. Okay, so relationships are the most important aspect of us humans, of our life. And as humans, we do need community and support and connection to thrive. Hyper independence, and I've been there, hyper independence and non commitment are both trauma responses. And at the end of the day, without having the real connections, real support, real community in our life, it's very difficult to enjoy and to live a blissful and happy life. Now, having said that, I also feel like no matter how much of personal development and inner work and individual work you have done, the ultimate healing and the biggest spiritual growth happens when you are in a committed romantic relationship, because everything that has been unconscious, you don't even know how traumas and how things, your shadow aspects, come out when you come into a relationship. Now, the trauma work, the inner child work, the entire culture is very deep, very vast, but I'll try my best to kind of give you the brief gist of how things work and where do they start, because I'm really passionate about why we are the way we are as humans, how are the what are the actual root causes. So I'll try to simplify it and give you a brief summary. So I was sitting and reflecting that we'll be doing an episode on relationships and where do I want to start. So the first thing that came to my mind was, and I want to ask this to Manya first, like I'll give the answer, but like a general question, like it's understandable that once we hit our puberty and we have the biological changes, it's natural to have that desire to be in a romantic relationship, right? And as adults also, it's lovely to have a partnership, somebody to build our life with, our empire with. But why do you think the younger children, or the younger kids as I would say, who are just entering the teenage years, or very very young children for that matter, have that desire to be in a romantic relationship so early on, when their basic idea should be like playing, doing schoolwork, being with their families and all of that? Because by the time we reach the age like 20 and 25, we have so much of trauma to uncover. We have already
Yeah.
done like so much of self damage, self sabotage. So why do you think like there's a desire in younger kids that we are seeing to be in a romantic relationship?
I think if I would answer that, I would say it's because they want attention from someone. They want a relationship, a healthy relationship, something that would comfort them outside of their family,
Mhm.
because maybe there is a possibility that they can't find that in their family. The care, the affection they want. So maybe at an early age, they try to go out and seek that in someone else. So I think that's why young children go out and seek. And maybe a lot of them come in peer pressure, and then there is a
Absolutely.
probability that they go out and seek relationships. But if somebody's innately or starting that is seeking that, I think that's the reason, because they want that security that they can't find at home.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would
Absolutely.
definitely like your take on it.
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
I would say it is the lack of love, attention, and care
Mhm.
that the parents fail to provide for a
Yeah.
child. They fail to create a safe, loving environment for the child to exist, to live, and that makes a
Mhm.
child go out and crave that love and attention outside of the house. Right, so it's very simple but accurate. Everything begins in our house, and that's why kind of we crave that attention from outside. We
Mhm.
have like unsafe spaces at home. We have a false sense of love in our mind. We have like a wrong perception of love, and then uh, we go out, and even little attention that we get from other gender adults, we kind of fall for that, right? And the next thing
Yeah.
that comes to my mind is like, our we all know that the relationship with ourself is the most important thing, right? Well,
Yeah.
I feel like the relationship with the divine is the ultimate thing, but coming to the materialistic life, our relationship with ourself is the most important thing. But what do you think is the second most important relationship in our life that should be there, or that should be there for everyone?
I would say your relationship with your parents, because that those are your primary caregivers, caretakers, and you learn a lot of things from them. So I
Mhm.
think most important relationship after relationship with you with yourself is with your parents, and it
Mhm.
can affect us. What do you think,
Definitely,
right? Yeah.
definitely, yes. Our relationship with our parents sets up for
Yeah.
everything in our life. But I would say I feel personally that the second thing, the second relationship in my like
Mhm.
kind of like a priority list, I
Mhm.
think, is with your partner. Is between
Mhm.
the relationship between a mother and a father, between the heads of the family. I think that is the most
Mhm.
important relationship, because after like a certain time, when people are married, when they are in long committed relationship, the nurturing aspect, the investing aspect takes a backseat, right?
Mhm.
And when that is nurtured, when the relationship between our parents is constantly nurtured, is constantly invested in, even if they are like lagging or they are not perfect parents in bringing us up, in giving us the perfect upbringing, I would say, even when we witness our parents caring and loving for each other, we naturally have a strong perception of love. We naturally have a strong foundation for ourselves. And when we don't witness that, when we don't experience that, then the entire perception gets ruined for us, right?
Mhm.
And that's
Yeah.
why we say people have mommy issues and daddy issues. That's like the slang terms we are using in
Mhm.
today's time. And it's like, to give you a gist of it, I would say like our fathers have been since ages, our fathers have been out there earning, providing for the family, and our mothers naturally have taken the nurturing roles, right? So there's a distance between the parents because of
Mhm.
responsibilities, because of, for whatever reason, there becomes a distance between the parents. And naturally, as humans, all of us, every single one of us, crave that love and connection. So when that is not there, the child will have to face the burden from the parents.
Mhm.
Whereas the child should be supported, right? The child should be
Yeah.
getting the love, getting the support. But what usually happens is the child has to take the burden of the parents' emotional needs,
Mhm.
spiritual needs, mental needs, and the child has
Yeah.
to like to navigate that space. And then they grow up becoming like emotionally unavailable
Unavailable.
people,
Yeah.
right? So for boys, they kind of see their parents being absent in their lives. That is their perception of how a man should be. Their entire existence depends on providing for the family. They feel that disconnect. They
Mhm.
crave that validation, that support from their father, and that's how they feel like they should be in a world as a man. However, when it comes to
Mhm.
their expectation from a woman, they see that from their mother. So like
Yeah.
that's why guys have this tendency of like mothering qualities that they seek in women, right? Totally taking care of them. That has definitely come, that like directly come from their relationship with their parents. And for girls, their perception of how a man should be comes from the father. That is the emotional disconnect that they feel. And how they should be
Hmm.
comes from the mother, which is like the self sacrificing, or they've seen their mother trying to communicate things with
Yeah.
their fathers, trying to become a savior. And that's why we have that savior tendency in
Save it
us.
and see. Yeah.
Yes. So, or like not speaking our desires openly
Hmm.
and like confidently, not sharing it. So, there are a lot of like wounds. There is abandonment wound, neglect wound. There are so many things that comes into play, and that's how
Hmm.
we grow up, and that is reflected in our romantic and platonic relationships growing up.
Relationships. Hmm. Yeah,
What do you
that
think?
was really nice. I think that's really eye-opening even for people, because inner child wound is something that's really not talked about, especially in our community. So, like just like generational wealth, generational knowledge, and generational limiting beliefs are also passed down by our ancestor. And a
Mhm.
child's first worldview is formed through his immediate relationship, his or her immediate relationship. So it's very important for like the adults to be conscious of how they behave around a child. For me, it's very important for them to see what they are speaking, what their actions are. Kids pick up on everything they say or they do. It might seem trivial for a child, for an adult, that it doesn't matter, but that thing or those words can leave a big imprint on the child, even if it's just if you're gossiping around them and just saying things about a particular person, and this child knows that person. So even if they might end up resenting them in the future, if depending on the situation. But even if they don't, they do get like a particular view of that person in front of them, even if the mom's talking about their dad or anybody, right, to the child, um, using the child as a therapist. So the child does get that burden of things, and the worldview, the person's view is formed in
Yeah.
front of them, and they grow up with that view of them. And so it's important to recognize how you behave around a child, because these are the people that we as children look up to, and they represent how we should behave in the world and what treatment is acceptable and how we should treat others. So I have like a couple of stories which I'm going to take maybe later, but right now I'm just going to say something about our community, like how, everybody rejects therapy as a Western concept. And but then and they say that you can come and talk to us. So if a child is asking you and saying that they want to talk, please don't dismiss what they are trying to tell you. Even if they say there's a problem at our school, so please don't say be strong and endure it. Please help child resolve the problem. Or if they're saying some kind of comment bothered them, or some people's action in the family bothered them, please listen to them and don't dismiss it just um, immediately, because then that gets conditioned that their feelings are an
Mhm.
imposition, their pain is an imposition. So please don't do that. um, yeah, also, I would like to say something about a person I know through my sister. And this person has had a very hard childhood, and now they are in their late teens. And so, but that person is such a sweet person despite having a very hard childhood. So the choice of not carrying the generational trauma, carrying those beliefs and those behavior with them was their own choice, and they made
Absolutely.
that conscious choice. And I'm like really proud of them for doing that. Not all of them can do that. So when I met them, it was, or when my sister tells me about them, it's really nice to hear how they are breaking that trauma or the generation trauma that their ancestors have passed on to them.
Beautiful.
um I know. So now I like to tell like a story about me. So I was like very young, and I had this just come up like yesterday or day before. I was 4 or 5 years old. I don't remember exactly, but this is a really old story. I don't even know how I remember this. So once I was like 4 or 5 years old, and I just go to my dad and I say like, Mika is so much beautiful, much more beautiful than me. And then he asks, why do you think that? I'm like, because she's fairer than me. And she was like 1 or 2 years old. And there's, why do you think that? Like here, people beg for your skin color. They want to get tanned. And how does a 4 or 5 year old knows what a beauty standard is, or what is being? How does he? Like the child know what being fair means, or how it's better than being like a tanned person or dark skinned person? Obviously, because the adults around them talk about this or comment on them, right? So that's how these conditionings form. So that's why I'm saying like you have to keep that in mind when you're around a child, because they pick up on everything.
Mhm.
So
I
yeah.
think the I think that really what brings us, and that what I want to share is like the two biggest traumas that girls and boys have naturally
Mhm.
growing up, and that is
Mhm.
uh, something that we uncover and we heal. For men, it's about being weak, and for
Mhm.
women it's about being unworthy, again relating to
Yeah.
the beauty standards. Because how the world has been, how there have been different wives, there has been this culture of like having multiple wives, the kings
Mhm.
have had it and all of that. So there the trauma of insecurity and unworthiness has really passed on for women, and the trauma of feeling weak inherently, not being able to be a confident strong man, comes up for the man. These are like the two biggest things that we
Mhm.
uncover in the healing process. Also, I think you mentioned about parents being taking the accountability and responsibility in the beginning, right? Like they have to be really not dismissing kids
Yeah.
emotions,
Feelings
right?
and
Whenever,
emotions.
yeah.
Yeah.
So I think our society is formed as such where we love to blame the kids when they are being mischievous or they are showing different tantrums. Even like we are in this age, like we are in our 20s, but then if we want to create healthy boundaries
Hmm.
within our families, there's always this blame that is put on children, right?
Yeah.
They're trying to
That
create this.
this is family.
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't have
Yeah.
boundaries within families. Yeah.
Yeah. But the thing is that if the blame has to be put where, I mean, the blame game is never ending. But if the actual blame has to be put, it directly goes to the parents and the adults because of the way they have created. Because being a parent is a huge responsibility, and whatever, and it's the initial years. In a child work, we teach that the first 7 years, our subconscious mind is forming, and it's the initial years that needs to be very focused on, because that
Mhm.
is going to shape the entire perception of life for a child. It could be business, it could be career, it could be love, it could be every single thing. But whatever the child has experienced and witnessed initially as a baby, everything is going to be, all the adult decisions are going to be reflected from that age. That's what inner child
Mhm.
work really brings out for all of us.
Mhm.
And of course the blame game is never ending, because like when we go into a healing process and we feel like our parents did this, or we want to blame them naturally, but
Mhm.
then we bring in a little understanding, a little compassion, and we see that the grandparents have
Yeah.
inflicted much more abuse, they have been
Abuse.
much
Yeah.
more absent, right? And their
Yeah.
parents have had done more. So like it's a never ending thing, and if we kind of focus on that blame, the
Mhm.
healing, the work, the improvement, the empowerment will never going to actually happen. So
Happen.
as
Yeah.
we become an adult, it becomes our responsibility to take the ownership of our own lives, bring in the healing, as you've just shared the story of your sister, like bring in the accountability and breaking those generational patterns and traumas. Because if
Mhm.
not, our children are going to suffer from that, their children are going to suffer from that, and eventually there is one or two kids that come out in a family becoming like the cycle breaker, and they have to do the healing work. Somebody has to
Yeah.
do it in the family. It happens, our parents have done some form of uh, pattern breaking in their
Breaking.
own
Yeah.
life, in their own way. And we, when we become an adult, we have to bring in that forgiveness and understanding that our parents did the best, yet there
They
were some
could, yeah.
traumas that we had, and they couldn't love us the way we actually needed, while also forgiving ourselves, I think, in a way that we seek that love outside of our homes, and we inflicted so much of pain onto ourselves. So we have to bring in the forgiveness for ourselves. Sometimes
Yeah.
we've had people have had really traumatic childhood, and it's hard to forgive the parents, which is okay. In those moments, the first healing has to begin from forgiving yourself and healing yourself, and really accepting and acknowledging that you did your best, and taking the ownership of your present and future life from the present moment.
Yes, that's like absolutely I agree with you, like because our parents also have broken so many generational trauma, and we can't take the credit of it from there that they didn't do anything. They have broken the cycle in their own ways, and now it's our responsibility to do that further. That's very appropriate, and that's very right. Also, you mentioned something about how blame the child and call them mischievous, and yeah. So I have a story, but it's about a dog. But trust the process; you can apply it on humans too. So, like my friend's dog, not my friend's dog, but somebody adopted a dog in their village. It was a Labrador, and it was very aggressive, and it was not even like a year old right now. It was just a 4-month old puppy, and I have had two puppies. I know puppies are not that aggressive. They don't even know how to bark until like it's their year old or maybe 10 months old. So there was a 4-month old puppy, very aggressive, biting everyone, barking all the time, and obviously he was they took physical measures to discipline the dog because he was becoming aggressive.
Mhm.
But the reason for his aggressive behavior was they brought the dog. As soon as they brought the dog, they kept him tied at one place. He was tied all day long, barely given it food on time. And then obviously he became aggressive because the humans did this. The humans behaved like that with him, not because he was innately aggressive, which
Mhm.
is also something that humans, like new parents, if you're listening, you can apply to your children. Like if they are acting out, there's something because they feel the need to do, or they need your attention. You know this page on Instagram where she teaches the child to like communicate through his words. So he spills the milk, and then she wants to like shout, but she controls herself, and she's like teaching him how to
Yes, clean it
communicate with
together.
his words. Yeah, sorry.
And she teaches, what I have seen is like she teaches the child, and she says that let's clean this stuff together.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like she did her work in that moment. She kind of
Mm.
controlled the
Herself,
initial
yeah.
reaction and responded from a place of love.
Yeah,
I
and
think
it's
that's
not
the
like you
difference
won't
between.
be sorry, yeah.
No, no, go
Go
ahead.
ahead. I
It's
say
like,
it's not like
okay, I'll say it. I just have one
yeah,
line.
yeah, go ahead.
I wanted to say like there's a difference between a discipline and fear,
Mm.
because most parents use the tactic of
Fear.
using fear, when discipline can be done in different ways as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
carry on.
uh, I was saying I forgot what I was saying. I don't remember. Oh,
A
I
little of,
remembered. I
yes,
remembered.
yes.
So, I was saying that it's not like you won't get triggered. The parents won't get triggered with the child's behavior. Obviously, your first reaction would be that anybody who's healing, their first reaction will be what they were comfortable in, what the wounds coming in. But the thing is, you have to make a conscious decision to control those emotions, control their thoughts, and go the other way, go the place of do the reaction that comes from the place of love, comes from the place of healing. So that's completely okay to
Yeah,
get triggered
yeah.
at the first
In fact, not
instance.
always are we able to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And especially with the internet, everybody is becoming a moral police. But the
Mhm.
thing is, like, out of 10 times, even if you are able to bring that consciousness 5 times, that's more than good. Like, right? Because,
Mhm.
like, people are not even trying. But if you're like trying even a little bit, that is something to be appreciated about. Is
True.
something coming to
Yeah.
you?
I think we've talked a lot about inner child healing. I think the audience is waiting for us to talk about romantic relationships now.
So, inner child healing and the trauma work is a huge space, and
Yeah.
if you everything has to be uncovered from this space only. Everything starts from our childhood. All traumas arrive in childhood, and to like shift now angle a little bit. What are your like the red flags that you see in romantic relationship? Let's say, and I don't even
Okay.
use the word red flag, but
Red
like
flags. Yeah.
for the sake of
Something that
that.
behavior I wouldn't accept, a behavior that I wouldn't accept in a
Mhm.
romantic relationship. So there are a lot of red flags now, but there was a time where I used to love red flags, but I
She's like,
don't
there are
anymore.
a lot of red flags. Huh? Continue.
So I don't even know where to start. Okay, so first is when somebody doesn't put consistent effort from their side. Like if they're breadcrumbing me, they're talking one day, ghosting another. Red flag. Not accepting that behavior.
No room for lukewarm love.
Yeah, no room. And once, someone, I don't know if it's a red flag or not, but once someone say like the Ross was the most misunderstood character, and I had this really, like he wasn't misunderstood, he was really hurt and he was really in pain and he refused to heal. So that was my point of view. And he was like, no. So that was a red flag. If somebody says that Ross was misunderstood, he was in the right, because it shows to me that how you as a person perceive men, I think. Maybe it's all in
I've
my
heard
mind,
that.
but yeah.
I don't have an
But
opinion on that, but huh, I've heard the two
mhm.
stances. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's something that I value, or I see when talking to someone. If something like this comes up, if they um, um, put a toxic character on a pedestal and find reasons for him, oh no, he's
Hmm.
good at that, he's good at it, like maybe he one day when they heal, but not right now. If you can give excuses for them, you can give excuses for yourself. So I don't want that. I don't want to be put in that situation.
Hmm.
And the last one is if somebody can't, accept my inner child. So I, in the past, so this person, I wasn't in a relationship with this person, but we were just in a talking stage or something, and he goes something like, y- like you're very childish or something along those lines, or yeah, bachcho ki tarah behave karna, he say something like that. And I know that I am not always serious and I'm not in this wise point of state of mind all the time, and I love acting like a child somehow, not like exactly like Lorelai Gilmore, but something towards those lines.
Hmm.
And I love enjoying life from the viewpoint of a child, and honoring my inner child. But I don't know if he was triggered by it or whatever, but that for me was a big red flag, that if you can't accept my inner child, if you can't accept my playful side, I don't think this would work for
Hmm.
me. So yeah, I think for me, three red flags are enough now, because I'll just keep on talking and talking. So,
I
what
was about
about
to say
you?
they. I was about to say that there were just three of them, and you said that there were many.
Yeah. Okay, I'll say another one. But this is like a friendship red flag. Friendship when people will have maybe mixed opinions on it, but this is my opinion, and I have had experiences before that where I overlooked this red flag, but and then I was in a hurtful or a painful situation, and this is when they do not um, hate the guts of the person that hurt me. So if they are comfortable talking to the person, they have a chill relation. It's not about like, oh, they say something, not that kind of hurt, like really, really hurt because of somebody you spiral down, they hurt you. And I don't think there's argument over this for me. If they are comfortable talking to the person, being with the person who hurt you, I don't think I can be friends with them. I don't think,
Mhm.
because my level of friendship is, I would prefer somebody who is there to support me, who is there for me, but not in this scenario. Yeah.
I think. The first thing that you mentioned was about mutual effort, right? And I totally agree with that. Mutual effort, mutual respect has to be there. And if not, then you have to let people go, right?
Mm.
For me, I think the one thing that I observe in people around me, or like that really breaks my heart, is disrespecting each other when you're in a committed
Mm.
relationship. So I've seen uh, people feeding into each other's insecurity, trying to make each other jealous in the name of love, that the other person should be a little possessive, should be a little should be putting a
Yeah.
little more effort. And instead of like acknowledging that and trying to communicate that, one person does one thing and the other is doing other things. So it really breaks my heart when people are like to people try to feed into that jealous mode, feed into that
Mm.
insecure mode, instead of acknowledging and
Um,
healing it together, right? Number two, I think, would be this cycle of high and low, because uh, I think the Ross thing was also like that only, that we mistake passion for love. It's like, and I've heard people telling it to me, like, if you're not fighting, that doesn't mean that it's true love. And I'm like, what's this kind of perception? Because I
mhm.
believe in sustainable joy, I believe in sustainable love. If you
Yeah.
are, and like, disagreements is one thing, arguments is
Mhm.
one thing, but there's got to be this level of respect. There's got to
Mm.
be a tone in which we are communicating. And even if at times we have been angry, or we have given the silent treatment when we are like angry, we shut off. Even if we have done that once or twice, the acknowledgement has to come in, so that it is not repeated. But people I've seen like fighting like animals, and they're like abusing each other or doing all sorts of things, and the next moment
Yeah.
they're like trying to be together and have like a love making thing or whatever. But the highs and lows is something like, I feel like it's very traumatic to be in such a triggered state of mind. Your nervous
Yeah.
system is confused, your entire body is confused of what is happening, and you feel like that is what love is, when it's just your
Mm.
individual traumas playing.
Adrenaline. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think the high and low thing is something that points out to for me. And also, like, the honeymoon phase, people say it fades out, but I don't think it does. If you are uh, constantly putting in the work together, if you're really devoted, honeymoon phase lasts forever. And it doesn't mean that you'll have like a few fun years and then you'll be
Mhm.
falling into responsibilities, or things are going to get monotonous and stuff like that. And the final thing I would say is having uh, inherently being a misogynistic or misandrist. If you inherently, like, if you're dating a particular person and you have good feelings for that person, but then you inherently feel like all men are dogs, or like all women are
Yeah.
controlling and manipulative people, I don't think you will be able to hold the right people when the universe is trying to bring them into your life, right?
Mhm.
You
Yeah,
won't attract those
exactly.
people at all. And the entire world is a mixed bag. There is duality present. If you are going to clubs for finding like true love, everybody's high there, everybody's in that hookup mode, and you're trying to as an adult, if you are consciously being in those places trying to find true love, and then you are having bad experiences, that's on you. Because if you're consciously choosing, again, like, the high value and low value is another slang that is being used. If you're consciously as an adult choosing low value partners, you will be experiencing the treatment as from a low value state only, right? So you
Mhm.
can't say
Mhm.
that the world is full of low value people, because it's not. It's a mixed bag.
You are.
And the accountability and the healing of every individual has to come in. So I think three things: one is disrespecting each other, second would be cycle of high and low, and
Mhm.
third would be inherently feeling like humans are bad.
Yeah. I mean, for when you said, the argument one, that disrespecting, I remember of another red flag. I don't know why, but I have never ever heard a brown boy say sorry. I have never heard sorry come out of a brown boy's mouth. It's always like it was a joke, and never heard them apologize. I don't know, maybe you had a nice experience and maybe you have heard someone. I have never
I've
in
had
my
mixed
life.
experiences, but I don't think, sometimes I feel it's hard to say sorry, but then I can see the transition in the behavior. So I don't
Behavior. Yeah.
judge people
Mm-hmm.
if they are really caring for you, if they really
Mm-hmm.
care. I think they make the transition, they make the change, they do the healing without kind of saying sorry. Sometimes the ego comes in.
Yes, the ego. Um, yeah, and I do agree with the last point as well. If somebody, if you're looking for a relationship and you just keep putting the other gender or the same gender or whatever you're interested in down, why would they want to be in a relationship with you?
Mhm,
Because I had this experience. I was observing someone. They wanted to be together with this person, and then they were constantly correcting them, constantly trying to put them down, their achievement down, and trying to, not overpower them but show their achievements. Maybe it comes from, obviously it comes from a place of insecurity, a place from trauma, and that needs healing. But that is something you have to be aware of, that it's on you, that you can't go and cry about it to somebody else, that they're not accepting you. That's because
mhm.
you are constantly trying to belittle them.
Yes, that's a quality that I also appreciate in people who, instead of belittling, kind of guide others and tell
Mm-hmm.
others what's like
Wrong.
support
Yeah.
others in a way.
Yeah. Like in a
So,
nurturing way, they tell you this was wrong, so you can correct that,
mhm,
not
mhm.
belittle them.
And now, what do you think are like some of the green flags that you have experienced in your life and that you think there are?
So the green flags that I personally look for in a relationship are like how calm and comfortable I feel with them, how authentic can I be with them, can I share my views without being without the fear of being judged.
Mhm,
And I also, another thing, that I don't have to keep talking or making unnecessary conversation. And is there silence, comfortable silence between us? How comfortable do we feel in that moment, in those moments of silence? So these are some of the green flags that I look for. Other than this, I think how the person reacts to your interests, like if they are, willing to take control of the relationship. That's something I don't agree with, or I'm comfortable with. I think it should be 50-50. If they have some interests that they would like me to join in, I would also expect them to contribute. So that's a huge green flag if they are willing to do that. I
mhm.
think, yeah, so these are some of the green flags I look in right now. What about you? What are your green flags?
I think similar to what you said, the first thing that I also teach others is like
Mhm.
feeling that sense of peace and calm and safety within yourself, even when like your mind, a lot of the time, especially in the case of love, our mind is having like different opinions, it's judging from a logical place, but your soul, there is, I don't know how to explain it in words, but your soul will feel that sense
Yeah.
of calm, that sense of joy that you haven't experienced before. So you'll feel like very safe to exist. You'll experience a peace that you haven't experienced before. That is one thing. Another thing was like the inner child that you've mentioned also.
Hmm.
Somebody was
Hmm.
saying that, it's childish and all of that. So for both the partners, like you love uh, nurturing that inner child of your partner, so that is
Hmm.
like a green flag. And more uh, nurtured and more happy that inner child feels within
Yeah.
you to be expressed, right? So that would be like another little thing. And finally, I think I appreciate in general would be the willingness, not for a relationship, but
Hmm.
first of all for yourself as a human being, that
Yeah.
willingness in a person to grow, to really align oneself with the highest purpose, with figuring out the healing and the entire process, really coming into true power of
Yeah.
oneself. Because when that is there, then naturally it will be all shown in the
Mhm.
relationship as well. So I think the willingness in a person is very important to grow, to know, to heal. And the safety thing, the peace thing is there for me, I think.
Yes, for sure. And the one that you mentioned about ways, I would like to say something like, if you haven't healed, if you are still acting from place of survival, that piece can feel boring to you. You are
Mhm.
constantly stuck in that ups and downs, that adrenaline rush. You would crave for those kind of relationship. So it's important to work on yourself before you seek out relationships, and what you want in a relationship, basically. And
Yeah,
sorry, yeah, go ahead.
no, that's the thing that I said like
Yeah,
earlier about the highs and lows. People
yeah,
mistake that traumatic attraction for real love a lot of times.
exactly, yeah, exactly. And yeah, now that we talk about seeking healthy relationships, so as an adult who's curious, who's willing to put in the work, and who wants to break out of the cycle and wants to get into a healthy, loving relationship, where do you think they should start from with this process?
I think healing is a very broad term, and you all know
Mm-hmm.
that you know how healing is important. But the first step for healing that we bring in, and whenever somebody comes to coaches, to healers, to therapists, is bringing in that self awareness, right? So we send all the different kinds of quizzes and personality tests and stuff to people to just astrological charts and stuff like that to give them a sense of the self. So honing in and bringing in that kind of self awareness is, I think, one thing that one where one should begin with. Um, and it's funny, I shared it with one of my friends, and she was like, "Okay, so I have to." She bought my workshop on conscious relationship, but then she kind of didn't watch it, didn't sit through it
Mm-hmm.
entirely. And then when we met, she was curious about more of these things, and I was like, first go and watch the workshop which you
Yeah.
bought out courtesy. But the thing is, uh, she was like, okay, so I have to understand my own traumas, my own responses, my own triggers, and then I have to do the work. And I'm like, yes. And then she's like, and then I'm going out and meeting people, socializing, potential partners, and then I have to like also take into account of what their trauma responses could be. And I'm like, yes. So she's like, but this is too much work, who has time for all of this? And I'm like, well, that's where healing and inner
Yeah.
work comes in, and you have to prioritize. And that's how I feel like, that's why I keep my professional and personal relationships different, spaces different, because I don't force anyone to indulge in these kind of conversation. But
Mm-hmm.
at the same time, I feel like that's how the divine timing concept comes in. Some people might even require 3 or 4 more heartbreaks for them
Yeah.
to
To
realize
realize.
that this needs to be prioritized and how
Mm.
important this is. So to
Yeah.
each their own, but I think the self awareness has to come in from within, and nobody can like put it in your head. It'll come
Yeah.
based on your own experience in your own divine timing. And the second is like the North Star thing that I teach, which is I haven't done conscious manifestation of a
Mhm.
relationship, of
Mhm.
romantic relationships, but I have taught it to people based
Okay.
on my based on my
Interesting.
learnings of like manifestation and the masculine and feminine energetics. And I've received such beautiful positive feedbacks. It just fills my
Mhm.
heart when people kind of reach back to me, telling me what all has happened in their life and how they've met like not just partners but also a supportive community of people
Mhm.
around them.
Mhm.
So I think figuring out your North Star, not based on the physical attributes, not like 6 feet
Yeah,
tall, 6 abs
exactly.
or whatever, but like more in the terms of your internal desires of like your family values should align, or maybe if you're a religious person, your religious values should align, or you want to travel the world together,
Mhm.
you want to be in the same profession, or you want different professions to have to make things interesting, and all those sorts of internal qualities, set it all out. So that also gives you like sets the a very healthy standard for yourself,
Mhm.
and you'll be able to better filter people out in your life
Yeah.
when you're meeting them.
Yes.
So those two
Like,
things, I think.
yeah. And yeah, I totally agree, especially the standard one. So, once my younger sister asked me, like, why do people keep saying that they're out of my league, they're out of my standard? So I told her it's sometimes it's like physical features, but I don't think that should be. It's not depending on physical features. Standards are basically how someone treats you, the treatment that you are willing, you think you deserve, and the treatment you let them you let them treat you, like give you. So that those are standards, how they make you feel, how you let them make you feel.
Mhm.
Do you set some boundaries with the person around you? So that's the definition of standards that a person should have. Instead of, maybe you want okay, I get it, a two or three physical attributes, but mainly focus on those attributes, those standards, because that's how long-term sustainable relationships last,
Mhm.
not depending on physicality. And
Also, I feel there should be some room for the universe to do its magic if you want to be really aligned
Mhm.
with the internal values of a person. So I think you should also be a little open
Flexible, yeah.
with yeah, with other stuff.
True, yeah. And also, if you don't want to go through those heartbreaks, through those stages, you know how they are dating stages. Antriksha, there's a F boy and then there's a soft boy. Do you know that? So,
Not
like,
exactly, but I
yeah,
understand where that comes from because
yeah,
I study kind of like the wounds. So
mhm,
I know how these terms have become
yeah,
popular nowadays. For me, I think I make the distinction between a wounded masculine, a wounded feminine, and
mhm.
a healthy masculine and healthy
Healthy
feminine.
family, yeah,
So both the categories of soft boy and F boy falls in the wounded.
great
Both
masculine guy.
are extremes, but they
Yeah,
both fall in the category of wounds.
yeah,
So like people be like, I don't know why we love to throw around words and feel like and say things like they are either this or that. We're all a mixture. We're
of
all trying
things,
to.
yeah.
We will all have red flags. We will all have wounds. It's just we are trying to heal
Hmm.
them, right? And the uh, we have to come in the center of the two. I think the soft boy, I think, would be coming from a stage where men are passive, they're indecisive, so to say. That's like, those are like a better terms that I would feel
Mhm.
would explain it. So like the passive category of men, where they are indecisive, ungrounded, flaky energy, that is like the passive men. And the other extreme would be the F boy, that we say is like narcissistic manipulative traits. And same goes for the females,
Yeah.
like controlling, manipulative, again to one extreme.
Mhm.
And the passive state would be naive
That's a
and otherly, trying to be a
mm,
savior. Those are like the
yeah,
passive traits, and the
true.
controlling thing is again the other extreme. So those are the extremes, and we are all trying to kind of
Balance the
be,
both.
yeah,
Not balance both, get out of
not
that and
balance,
heal.
realize
Yeah.
what your experiences have been
Yeah.
as a child, and to which zone you are moving towards more, and then trying to heal a
Hmm.
little bit
Yeah.
every single day.
Also, I have an activity for those who don't want to get in the ground and experience two, three heartbreaks before they can find out what they want. So, if you're somebody who likes self reflection and does a lot of self reflection, you can actually sit down and write the traits of partner you're interested in without actually dating. So, maybe pick a character from like a movie or a series that you're really attracted to, and write down the qualities that you're attracted to in them.
Demon. I'm sorry, yeah, continue please.
Yes, now I was always Teen Stefan. Um,
Oh,
okay, so write down the qualities you're attracted to and why. And then when you read through it, you'll have an idea of what these wounds or what these your traumas are attracted to, and you can sit or maybe talk to a healer or a therapist and work on them. So that's a self-reflection activity you can do if you don't want to experience the whole heartbreak thing and realize then. So um,
thanks for
be
sharing it.
safe. It's fine.
Okay, so the so now the other thing that's coming to my mind is like, do we attract same people in different bodies again and again and again? What's your take on that?
Of course, yes, we do attract same people. Sometimes, so there can be two scenarios. So when you attract the same people again and again, that's universe trying to teach you a lesson. So the first time you make choices, maybe somebody came into your life to teach you lessons about boundaries, but you are not setting boundaries with them, and it's messing with your mental and emotional health. Now you've healed, and the universe has sent you a person, similar person again. Now what you can do is, there are two things. Maybe the lessons you have learned in the past, you can apply them and you can break that loop, or you can repeat the same patterns you did in the past again. And then you'll be because you are not elevating and changing your vibrational frequency by discarding those old patterns and accepting these new habits, new patterns, new healed self, you'll keep attracting those at your frequency, those trying to trigger you, those trying to teach you those lessons again and again, until you break out of those patterns and elevate to the next level or the higher self that the universe is trying to take you to. So until and unless you do the work, you consciously say that no, I'm not going to take your bullshit, I'm not going to do this for you, you're not going to take undue advantage, or even simply, I'm very tired, I'm sorry, I cannot host you today. Simple. I cannot entertain you. Simple. It's good. Now you're going to move on to the next level and attract people who are at that vibrational frequency. If you
Mhm.
just keep on doing the same thing, then again, there'll be same kind of people. The universe sends to trigger you.
Mhm.
What about
Absolutely.
you?
Yeah, I say I think the same, that you are going to be attracting the same person in different bodies, in different clothes, until and unless you realize the lesson that the universe is trying to teach you. And I feel like the intensity of such experiences gradually keeps on increasing,
Hmm.
because we humans are like that. Until and unless we have some extreme situation come in, we don't realize the lesson, right? So
Yeah.
like once you'll find a friend, a partner who's like a little mean to you or whatever, and you've kind of ignored that, and the connection is broken. After some time you'll again meet a similar person in a different body that will again going to trigger that particular wound for you, and again you're going to be doing the same thing,
Hmm.
and then more people are going to come, but every time the intensity will keep on increasing until and unless you take charge. For me, I've not had a romantic heartbreak ever, but I've had many friendship heartbreaks, and each time there has been something, either people are there in our life for a particular time trying to teach us something, or they trigger some wound within us that needs to be healed,
Yeah.
right?
For sure. Yeah. So, majority of my healing has been done through relationships, like people around me, they have triggered or they have mirrored something in me. So, before that, I actually thought like people were inherently good or bad, which was like the younger me talking. But now, the healed me has realized, a higher self, relatively higher self of me has realized that they all have a role to play in our life. So,
Mm-hmm.
nobody is inherently good or bad. So, you can't label them. Just uh, I always thank them for coming into my life and teaching me a lesson, even if it's what was somewhat hurtful. But they weren't like doing it deliberately. I would say that's the role they had to play in my life. So it doesn't have to be painful. You can just look at it as a lesson and move on. So,
Mm-hmm.
yes, also when we grow as a person, our relationship, the quality of relationships we attract improves so much. It's so much out
I
of
was just
love.
ask, I was
Huh?
just about to ask you that only. Yeah,
Uh,
go on.
so yeah, I was saying yes, 100%. Like our growth also affects the kind of relationships we attract. So as we grow, the quality of relationships improves so much. The love we share and how we feel in the heart, like even when we spend some time with them, and um, after that you feel so energetic, you feel like wow, what a life I have had. So you're just grateful for them. I can't explain, but it just, you can just feel it in the heart. So I hadn't felt that feeling for a very long time. Then I got this community, this spiritual community, through Mind Reset, and it's just like amazing, the people, kind of people I've attract. But also at the same time, you also attract energy vampires who are draining, and you have to still set the boundaries for them. You also want to help them, but then at a certain point you have to stop and say like, okay, now this is hurting me. So yeah, and also now when you are grown, you're grown, you healed, you don't feel embarrassed to ask what you want in a relationship. You don't expect the bare minimum, and also you don't feel like if I ask that I want commitment from this person, I want them to be exclusive with me, I don't want them to see, they'll leave me. So with that fear, you don't say anything, you just endure what you want even your heart is hurting, that because that's not the relationship kind of relationship you want. So now when you heal, you're just like, okay, I want this in a relationship. I don't want an exclusive relationship. I won't be here after 3 months if I don't see a commitment or future with you. That's how you keep it out in the open, and you are just more confident. And this confidence comes because you're comfortable from being alone, and now you have realized that um,
Mhm.
if this person needs me, I don't need security from them. I already have security. I have already have given myself that love, and if they can match that love, if they can match my standards, they can stay and we can make something really beautiful out of this relationship. But if they're not willing to match what I want, I am comfortable being on my own, spending some time alone, doing focusing on myself, and I don't have to lower my standards just so I can not feel alone or not feel lonely. And when you truly heal anyway, you wouldn't feel lonely at all when you're alone, and that's a really beautiful thing. So
Yes, it is. Healing does that, does bring that sense of calmness when we are alone, and creates a really beautiful relationship with ourselves.
mhm,
And yeah, also I think I would like to add on to that by saying that something about emotional unavailability was coming to me, where I
mhm,
felt like uh, you can be emotionally unavailable yourself, and
mhm,
you can be attracting those people in your life, so it
mhm,
goes both way. And just to put it out there in simple terms is like, it's also another trauma, another protective mechanism that we adopt while we are in difficult position, that we have to soothe our parents, or um, take into account of the emotions of others, adults around us. So
mhm,
I think that that is there. Plus again, it opens a portal of inner child work. And it is also like the fear of intimacy that people have. But when we are setting, when we are doing the work, when we are healing, when we are
yep,
getting clear on who we want in our life, as you have said, like you like there's a difference that we see when we do the work, right? So we are better able to kind of handle situation and navigate those situations from a healthy place.
yeah, exactly. I have like a real life scenario that I would like to share with you. So you know how I told you that after just at the beginning of Venus retrograde, a lot of people were coming back to from the past. So one of them was this person that had a record of being very inconsistent in the past. So was like one week was love bombing, and the other week he was like nowhere to be seen. And then so they came back a few weeks ago, and obviously I didn't set boundaries with them in the past, and if such behavior happened, I would take it upon me that I am somebody who didn't put in any effort, or I'm not interesting enough, or whatever it was that I would I would see myself as coming short in some kind of way. But this time, what happened? We were just talking, and then suddenly they go like, "Why aren't you replying to my text?" So mind you, Antriksha, that you know how many projects we are handling this August, how busy we are. And I took 6 minutes. It was 6 minutes because I saw the time when they send this. And then I just asked, why are you acting so entitled? Like you're nobody in my life. I actually text people after a day and they patiently wait, and you're not that important. You just came like a week ago. Why do you think that you are entitled to fast replies? It's not like you waited like a day or a week or something. And then this person leaves me on red, and I was like, okay, they got triggered. It's like if it were like old me, I would be, oh no, I shouldn't have said that, I offended them. But now I'm like, okay, they got triggered, that's nice, hopefully they can, work on this now. I made them
Funny, it's
self-aware.
funny. And that's how we trigger each other. And
Yeah.
we see trigger from a negative lens, but I also feel like it brings so much of healing work for
Mm,
ourselves,
mm.
things we would have never recognized,
Yeah.
and kind of bring it all out for us.
Yeah, of course, yes.
We have spoken about the red flags, the good moments, the bad moments, but I also want to like bring it all together to our heartbreaks that we have experienced in our life, and what are the lessons, or what is your understanding of it?
So, like heartbreaks, whatever kind they are, platonic or romantic, they're very tough. I'm not going to lie. It's very hurtful and painful. But the best lessons and the best art comes after you start healing from a heartbreak. I swear, I used to tell my best friend when I was in school that I hope I experience a heartbreak so I can like create. You can ask
I've
her.
cried for people who have had heartbreaks. When my friends used to have heartbreak, I used to come back and I don't know, I used to cry for them for some reason.
Oh.
Or if for some reason I can feel the energy. So I've seen people, I've observed people like really feeling it for each
Mhm.
other, but for some
Mhm.
reason I know they cannot be together. And I've cried for that and have no
Oh.
explanation for that. But
Of
yes,
course, that
I get
feels sad. Yeah, of course. I know you can pick up energies around, and yeah, and even now when I've become sensitive, I do cry at in movies as well. Before, I would never cry in a movie. That's not something I would do. But yes, I was very curious and eager to have a heartbreak, so I could create something magical. And then yeah, but after a heartbreak it's very tempting to shut your feelings, and become emotionally unavailable because you don't want to go through that pain ever again. But this is also how you know that you loved someone so deeply and you're somebody that loves so deeply. And that's the ability not everyone currently has, but a lot of people want, and that's beautiful. So I wouldn't lie and say that, oh, everything would pass and it's going to be such a amazing experience. It will be painful and it will be twice as hard to keep your heart open and be kind and empathetic after a heartbreak. But I promise you that it'll be all worth it once you heal, and you'll thank yourself for not shutting down your emotions and going down that path that would delay your healing for like more than a couple more years. So that's something you should keep in mind. And also, it does not matter if the relationship is for 2 days, 2 months, 2 weeks. You are allowed to mourn it. Like the impact someone has on you matters more than the duration of that relationship. The intensity is that what matters. So you're allowed to take time to heal from the relationship. I know that society will be like, yeah, it was only for like 2 days, 2 weeks, you're not supposed to be hurt as per societal norms. But it's fine, you don't have to pretend just to keep the society happy, and you don't have to pretend that you're not hurt, you don't have emotions. Please go ahead and mourn as long as you want. And yeah, coming back to me, I have experienced heartbreaks, but the most intense ones were platonic, which were like especially female friendships. And because I place so much importance on my friendship more than a relationship, I have always had for some reason. I'm not sure where this comes from, but yes, so I think this was also partly my fault because I was there for people when my cup was empty and I felt fully drained. So, but I still tried to help them, tried to listen to their problems or be there for them, even then I was so emotionally drained. But then, cut to, I couldn't like find support or find them besides me when I desperately needed the help. And that's now that I've started setting boundaries, yes, it's better. But obviously it even then I had to set some boundaries with them that this is not something I want out of a friendship. So those were some of the most heartbreaking events of my
as girl,
life.
as girls, I think we've all had the sisterhood wound
Yeah.
and mother wounds as well, and they play out, and we've all been there where we have been hurt by our sisters. But I
Mm,
also feel like the world benefits from pitting women against each other,
yeah.
and when we come into true alignment, and when we make healing a priority, there is like the best thing that we can have is like a sisterhood community out here.
Yes, of course.
Also, to your first thing that you mentioned was really beautiful about uh, your capacity to love, and I really agree with that, in the sense that I tell people, you do not ever regret the love that you have given, because it was you who chose to
Yeah.
give that love, right? And sometimes people don't acknowledge that, people don't honor that, but it's on them. And then yes, respect and effort goes both ways, and then we have to uh, in healthy ways let people go with love out of your life. when that doesn't happen. But one should never kind of regret the love that they've
Mm.
given to other
Yeah.
people, right? Heartbreaks, I think for me, the number one thing would be cutting cords, which we
Mhm.
fail to do. It's a hard thing to do, to cut contacts immediately and
Mm.
completely. But without doing that, there is no way that you're going to be moving forward in life. And
Mhm.
people love to be like friends with people. People
Yeah.
find it. People, I don't know how people are still people still follow each other on social media, check each other's stories and all of that, when they've actually been like into real fights, or
Mhm.
they've suffered so much pain. So in that moment, us humans, nobody out here is a emotional superhero,
Mhm.
right? We do need that space. And I've read somewhere, or I don't know where I've heard it, but the amount is like the amount of time that one should be taking after a romantic heartbreak, if there is some, even if you are the one doing it, or the one,
Mhm.
or if your partner has done it with you, there has to be a time minimum of about 2 years that you
Mhm.
need separately in your life, because it's like you've broken a bone in your
Yeah.
body. It needs healing. It's still tender. It's like if you'll be a little here and there, it'll get broken again.
Hmm.
Right? So it needs that healing period. And for that, you will have to cut cords entirely from the person with whom, like, you feel like there is no future ahead,
Hmm.
right? So cutting complete contacts is one thing. And the other thing that I say is like the community supports. Community support is like boys going out and engaging with boys, and girls going out in their girls community, and
Hmm.
really being in that brotherhood and sisterhood once they've suffered the heartbreak, because humans again need that support and connection,
Hmm.
and healing happens quicker in that
Yeah.
space. At the same time, you have to honor yourself as an individual. Take some time for yourself when you've had whatever kind of heartbreak, because you need to establish a connection with yourself again. You have to know where you have been hurt. You have to heal that. You have to really treat it with a sense of honor and sacredness, and take time apart for your own self, be in your own company, and honor the healing phase completely when you have had a heartbreak, I think.
Yeah. I don't think like having a rebound would help you move on. It's just you trying to replace someone, but that's not, unfortunately, not how it works. It just adds on to your trauma or your pain more. So yes, I agree what you said. Like you should take time apart and maybe do some things that you didn't get a chance to do in the relationship. Like you forgot about some of your hobbies and something. Yeah.
I think people tend to kind of go on from one person to another,
Mm.
trying to fill in that emotional gap that they've had. But then it creates more and more damage for you and for others as well. Relationship is a sacred thing and should be treated as such, I
Mm.
believe, because otherwise you will never be able to kind of experience true intimacy, true healed, healthy relationship, if you're jumping from people to people
Mm.
very quickly, right?
Mm.
You have to honor those phases of being single and
Yeah.
reconnecting with yourself, so that, and figuring out what went wrong in your earlier relationships, and then moving forward with, from a healed perspective, and
Yeah.
not closing your heart.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we spoke a lot about relationship today, like inner child healing and everything. And I hope our audience learned something and will practice something. Um, do you have something to say, Antriksha? Any
I
last
would just say
words?
that relationships are the most important thing. As I've said in the beginning, treat it as such. Treat yourself and the relationships, especially the romantic relationships, with a sense of sacredness, because there's a lot of energetic exchange that happens in a romantic relationship, a
Mhm.
lot of energy exchange, a lot of karmic exchange that happens. And yeah, please don't ever lose out your faith on true love, because it's there. Keep investing in your healing and keep your heart open for real love, and I promise you that the universe is going to deliver you, and will you'll be able to experience that in your life.
Yes, absolutely. And don't be scared of being alone. Being alone doesn't mean you're lonely. And if you are jumping from relationship to relationship, even then you can feel lonely sometimes. So It's not about how many people you're surrounded with, it's about the depth of the relationships and the quality of relationships you have in your life. So always keep that in mind, and practice the self reflection which we mentioned here. Practice the what else did we mention?
Yeah, you can I think go through this video again. Also, I have a workshop on
uh,
inner child healing that I can offer you if you want. And yeah, I think we've touched upon a lot of the things today that
hmm.
are really helpful if you want to begin your journey towards conscious relationships in your life.
And our DMs are always open for like questions, and you can drop your questions in the comment box. So I think we should say goodbye now, and we'll see you in the next episode.
See you in the next one.
Bye.
Bye bye.